It's time for the Film Crickets with Jay Fortier and Chris Marno. On this week's episode number 51, Jay, Chris, and their special guest, rock radio legend and the baddest bitch in Boston, Mistress Carrie, review the 1991 American comedy film Oscar. Does it stand the test of time? Let's find out. Your Film Crickets are on now.
All right, good evening, good afternoon, good day, wherever you are in this great, wide, wonderful world of ours. Welcome back to the Film Crickets. I am the host, Chris Martineau, along with my longtime friend and co-host, Jay Fortier. Say hello, Jason.
Hey, what's going on?
What's happening today, Jay? I want to also, before I go any further, extend happy birthday wishes to your daughter, Elaine.
Thank you.
So that's very nice. And also, today is my first anniversary with my
happy anniversary
with my wife Joanne. So that was pretty neat. And before we get too much further, though, I'd like to welcome in our guest. As Steve said in the announcement, veteran of Massachusetts radio, 20 years on WAAF, now on 100 FM, The Pike. Let's bring to the table Mistress Carrie. Hello, Mistress Carrie.
Hi, guys.
What is happening? I'm
Thanks
so happy
for
you're here
having
with us.
me.
This is fantastic. So,
happy anniversary. I just had mine last week. I got married a year ago, too. So we're like married in a pandemic. Yeah.
Holy moly. That's
Yeah.
all right.
Wow.
Second go around, definitely much better than the first time.
I agree. Me too.
Yes. Yes. All right. Oh, hands all around.
Yay.
Hands all around. Yay. We figured it out. All
Yes.
right. All right. Anyhow, so tell us, so before we go any further, we were talking before the podcast started, and I got to know you a little bit, but maybe just kind of tell us what you're up to right now. Mistress Carrie or Carrie? What would you like?
You guys can call me whatever you want. The
okay,
listeners. The listeners gave me the name, so it's not something that I chose to call myself.
Okay.
But I was at WAAF for 29 years, 22 of them on the air, and when I started at night, you know, I was this spooky chick on the radio at night, and guys would call and be like, I spend every night with you. It's like there's another woman in my life, and my wife is okay with it. And so it just kind of came, like, the name Mistress Carrie just kind of stuck. So some people call me Mistress Carrie, some people call me Carrie, some people call me MC. I answer to pretty much anything you want, so you can call me whatever you want.
All right.
But when WAAF went off the air, just before COVID hit at the end of February of 2020, you know, I had been there in one capacity or another since I was 18 years old. And so I had never worked at another radio station. I had never gone anywhere. It's a very strange story in radio to use, you know, to be at one station for your whole career. Mm-hmm. And so through COVID, I built my own studio. So welcome to MCHQ. This is my studio. And I launched the Mistress Carrie podcast in June of 2020. I host a weekly streaming video show called Cocktails in the War Room. And then this May of 2021, I started on 100 FM The Pike in Worcester. And I also work at Westwood One for their 24/7 station. So I'm on a bunch of different stations around the country through Westwood One. So I'm pretty busy.
That's awesome. Well, I'm glad that you were able to kind of work through it, and you had your kind of like little burdening little cave of knowledge that you're kind of beaming out towards the universe. So I'm so happy to
I have no other marketable skills. This is all I know how to do, so I got to figure it out.
Well, I don't know. What can I do? I'm not sure.
This is all I got.
I can talk. All right, so that's fantastic, and I'm so glad you're here. So as everybody knows, Film Crickets, we look at old movies, a lot of old movies from 1988 to 1999. Jason and I, for a while, we were kind of doing randomly kind of chosen movies. So what we would do before we had guests is that we'd randomly choose a year, and then we'd choose the box office, and then we'd have to watch whatever came up. That's what we had to watch. And we've watched some movies that, man, you know, again, what's the one we didn't like there, Jay? Heartburn.
Yeah.
Heartburn came up. Heat. We never watched Heat. And things that just we never would have watched. But then we
didn't do Heat. We did Class.
No, but it was close.
That was pretty bad.
Class. Oh, Class is terrible. So if you want to, that does not hold up. Oh boy, sexist, misogynistic, racist at times. Wow, it's something. Rob Lowe smacking the butt of his African American maid, crazy pants. So anyway, but then we started getting guests, and we said, well, you guys pick. And to be honest, a lot of the guest choices are things that we've seen or people have heard of, but no one's seen in a while. And then Carrie comes on. And what was your first choice again? What was the first choice?
My first choice was Cannonball Run. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I was like, okay, well, if they haven't done Cannonball Run, have them do that one, because there's a lot of stuff in that movie that may or may not hold up.
Yeah.
But I still love that movie, even though looking at it through today's eyes, not okay in a lot of ways. But the movie just makes me laugh so much, and we couldn't find it. I have it on VHS.
Nice. We should have ripped that shit, man, and put it on the internet
don't throw
illegally.
anything away when it comes to music or movies, or I have all my vinyl, I have all my 80s cassettes. I'm one of those people that saves that stuff, and I also don't throw away the technology to be able to view it. So I still have a working VCR, and I still have a working cassette player, and I save all of that kind of stuff. I don't know why, I just do.
Well, you know what? I want to see it in front of me if I own it. I have digital stuff in a library, but I want a bookcase full of Blu-rays. I want to look at them. I want to be like John Cusack in High Fidelity and rearrange them alphabetically by artist in terms of the mood I was in at that time. So that's important to me. So anyway, long story short, Cannonball Run wasn't available, and my point with what I was getting to before is that you came up with, as Steve said, Oscar from 1991, and I gotta tell you, and we were talking about this before, this is absolutely a blip on the radar of pop culture. I mean, this is the Tic Tac alien video. There it was, and there it's not. Where did it go? I'm not entirely sure. And the only reason, Jay, do you remember this movie? Did you see this movie?
I saw it on cable back in the day, probably a year after its release. Yeah. And I laughed a lot. I remember smiling and having fun with it because it was just it's a light film. You know what I mean? There's nothing there's nothing depressing about it. It's really just you know what I was thinking when I basically was saying this is a 1930 something Three's Company.
Okay.
Because everything is like a misdirect with oh my God, it's they've had she's pregnant, no she's not, huh?
They walked in the wrong door.
Everything was just everybody thinking something else was the case, and it really wasn't. The daughter that's pretending to be the daughter. And then really is the daughter. All that. It's all different things. So she's not really pregnant, but pretending to be. And then the only thing missing was Don Knotts with his giant bug eyes going.
Don Knotts turning into a fish.
Which is another great movie. I love that movie too. Guilty pleasure.
I concur.
Incredible Mr. Limpet.
Yeah.
So Carrie, you were saying before. So I like to ask this question. Jay saw it on cable first and probably hasn't seen it since. Carrie, where is this in your personal life?
I don't know. I don't remember why I saw this movie. I don't remember if I saw it in the theater or if I saw it on cable, but I remember seeing it. And growing up in an Italian family, my family had a Sicilian bakery. I'm fifth generation. The only reason the bakery's not still open is because I decided to get into radio and go to school for radio as opposed to taking over the family business. So I know, trust me. So there's so much of that kind of ridiculousness, the inside kind of Italian jokes and humor that there's so many of those kind of stereotypes that literally are people in my family. I don't remember why I got turned on to this movie, but this is a movie. There's about a half a dozen movies in my life that I quote almost daily for some random reason. And it's like my sister and I, it's just the two of us. And her and I have this language where we just talk in movie quotes. And they're random, like Coming to America, Ghostbusters. Like, there's just certain movies that her and I quote to each other all the time. And for some reason, her and I both love this movie, Oscar, and we quote it to each other all the time. And no one ever gets the references because no one's ever seen the movie. And so when you asked me to come up with a movie and I said Cannonball Run at first, when that one wasn't there, I was like, you know what? I'm going to throw a movie at these guys that neither one of them have probably ever seen. And it's going to at least make anybody that listens to it Google the hell out of this movie. I'm sorry. I'll just say this right off the bat. If you hated it, I'm sorry, but I am not going to apologize for loving this movie myself because I love this movie.
No, never apologize for stuff you like. Absolutely, never, ever, ever. Because it touches somewhere, regardless of if somebody else thinks it's garbage. It hits you somewhere. That's my big defense of Big Trouble in Little China. My big defense of a lot of movies is like, well, or Joe versus the Volcano is one. I'll defend it to the end because it just hits somewhere. I don't know why.
I don't know why I love Oscar. I just do.
So I'll just do a quick thing and just something before I forget the point. My wife, who is also like 100% Italian, she loves Moonstruck. For the same, and Moonstruck's a great movie.
I love that movie.
Moonstruck's great, and what she'll say about it is just, it's so true to it. The families, how everybody's in everybody's business all the time. They can't just leave each other alone, and they complain about not leaving each other alone, yet they won't leave each other alone. So, and there is definitely some of this, even though it's obviously mob stuff and everybody's related, there was a hint of that in this. I'll say this about Oscar. I never saw it. I knew it existed only because I worked at a Blockbuster in 1992, and I would see it on the shelf, though no one rented it. And you walk past.
It was so dusty.
Yeah, it was. It was big video cassette on there. I'm like, wow, what is that? And there's Stallone, and I'm like, it must be a comedy. So that's the only reason I know it. I knew it existed. I did not know the pedigree of this movie. I did not know that this movie is stacked with actors. I did not know that it was directed by John Landis. I did not know that Bernstein did the friggin' score of this movie. I mean, Leonard Bernstein's brother, which is cuckoo nuts. And all I can say is that is near as I can remember, this is one of two of Stallone's direct stints into comedy. The first one being Stop or My Mom Will Shoot, which is probably one of the worst films on a lot of levels for so many reasons. It just is not okay.
Rhinestone.
Oh no! I forgot about Rhinestone. Right, that's also kind of horseshit. But this is his kind of like attempt at straight comedy, and so for some reason it didn't do well. So anyway, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get into this movie. We're gonna break it down.
Okay.
But first, I love doing this. My new favorite thing to do. I didn't realize it'd be my favorite thing to do. But IMDb tries to give you the summary of this movie in one sentence. So whenever you look up a movie, what is it about in 1 second? One sentence, which is really tough when you have stuff like Blade Runner and,
good luck.
Yeah, I know, right? Or like Dune. So here's the deal. So here is from IMDb. So we have Oscar coming out in 1991. It's PG, and that was nice to see. An hour and 49 minutes. And it says, a gangster attempts to keep the promise he made to his dying father that he would give up his life of crime and, quote, go straight. That is possibly the furthest from the actual goings-on of this movie that you could muster in a sentence. That is all I have to say about this movie. Look, and they are far off the mark.
One sentence, there's no way you can fit in. And the daughter pretends that she's pregnant, and this guy shows up. There's just too much.
I know. It's impossible.
And there's a bag of underwear.
There's a bag of underwear.
Well, we did the Burbs last week. Chris, you weren't there. IMDb's sentence was pretty accurate.
Yeah, I would say.
It's a family.
Neighbors who can't.
Is suspecting that their neighbors are satanic murderers. And I was like, yeah, that's spot on.
Yeah, pretty much on the nuts. So we have director John Landis. So again, big pedigree there. We talked about this before, and I want to get into it later. It's based on a play by Claude Magnier. I want to say it's not Magnier. I want to say it's Magnier. And it's also, that play is based on a French film from 1936. The screenwriters, I'm not quite sure of, but Michael Barry and Jim Mulholland. And we are starring Sylvester Stallone, Ornella Muti, who gets second billing, and I've never heard of her. I also have to mention that Sylvester Stallone plays Angelo, quote, Snaps Provolone. Boy, oh boy.
Most stereotypical name ever.
Absolutely. So we've got some alums from Animal House in here. We got Peter Reigert. We have the drill sergeant guy from Animal House. I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. Chaz Palminteri is in this movie. Yvonne DiCarlo, Don Amici is in this movie. Arlene Sorkin, Eddie Bracken, Art LaFleur, who's been like 1,000. Kurtwood Smith, your boy Kurtwood Smith, Jay.
Yeah, baby.
Is in this movie. Vincent Spano is in this movie. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Marissa Tomei is in this movie. There's so many people.
Linda Gray, random.
Linda Gray is in. Like, I know everybody is in this movie, and that to me is shocking. So I'm watching the credits with the claymation. I know it's all that Figaro, and they keep bringing it back. Which I think is great. But anyway, so let's get into it.
They show curtains like in a theater. Yep. When he does that, it's like here's just so you know. It's
I really want to see this done as a stage play.
Yeah,
right.
This must be a fantastic stage play.
That's what I mean. Like it's blocked. It's blocked like a stage play. It starts and you can almost see it. It starts in one room and then it goes to the next room and then it goes to the next room and then somebody knocks on a door and somebody comes into that room. It's blocked like it's a stage play. In fact, you can absolutely see it because it just goes, it's all dialogue driven. It's all acting driven. It's all, there's so many neat plays on words, like when Chaz Palminteri keeps getting corrected by calling him boss. Like,
sorry,
that's
boss.
I know, it's a funny joke every time, right? Stop calling me boss.
And the whole movie takes place in a house.
Yeah, right.
There's no other locations in the film. It all takes place in this one house.
Right, and the house across the street looking at him with the police, you know, so it's just they never leave anywhere.
Right. Like you can see the stage setup where you have the big set and then like the federal agents would be like every now and then they turn off the lights to the main set and just put on the lights on the federal agents going, what are they doing now? This is all crazy. Great. Lights go off back on the regular thing. Did anybody ever see Noises Off?
Yes.
This is Noises Off. I mean, this play is Noises Off. And Noises Off is hysterical.
Yes, it is.
Because it's just one problem after another, mounting on another, and it all hinges on, all of the problems are hinged on other people's problems, which just get worse and worse.
And you, so as the audience member, are just sitting there who could so very easily solve the problem as the observer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And you're sitting there like, because you can't.
What's interesting to me and what makes it such a neat, innocent movie, even though it's about, let's not forget, it's an innocent movie about a person who says he's not going to be a mobster anymore, which means he's been involved in organized crime, bootlegging, other nefarious acts, and probably murder somewhere in this man's pedigree.
St. Valentine's Day became like a fond memory.
Yeah.
Right. This movie has the Stones to call St. Valentine's Day a joke. All right. So
I love how he smiles about it. Like, oh yeah, that was fun.
Oh yeah. Oops. So, and I want to get your take on this. Is that it's an innocent movie which forgets the fact that we're probably dealing with a murderer, and the MacGuffin of this movie is Kirk. Oh, we forgot Kirk Douglas.
Yeah, don't forget Kirk Douglas makes a cameo in the movie.
I know, right? So we had that classic thing where Stallone goes to him at the beginning of the movie, and he's a mobster, and Kirk says, I want you to go straight. And he goes, Dad, I'll try. And he gives him, come closer, come closer. My wife goes, he's going to slap him in the face. Boom, slaps him in the face.
Yep.
Because you're expecting it. And so the MacGuffin of the movie is that Stallone is going to, Snaps is going to try to go straight because he told his father he would. Because if he didn't say he was going to go straight, Snaps Provolone would have killed everyone in this movie.
Yeah. Yes, he would have.
He would have just killed everyone. The accountant who admits that he embezzled $50,000 and then another $50,000. Some estranged woman who had his kid, she'd be gonzo. I mean, everybody would be DEAD, dead. But we don't, and that's the neat part about the movie. It's unbelievable completely, but the fact of the matter is, if he'd stayed bad, everyone would have been dead. Tell me I'm far off on this.
No, and he makes the promise to his dad on his dad's deathbed,
right,
that he is going to legitimize his empire and go straight and become a banker in Chicago after like during Prohibition.
Right.
And he tries so hard. And this whole movie is just this struggle of this guy that knows nothing but the mafia to try and go straight. And it has the purest of intentions. And the world is just like, but your name is Snaps Prevolone. But you just can't.
Yeah.
How are you going to go straight and legitimize what you do? And what I loved about the movie is that it like kind of like The Sopranos, to bring up another mafia-based Italian stereotype, that it makes you cheer for the guy you would normally villainize. That The Sopranos made you root for Tony Soprano, where you would never root for Tony Soprano. And this movie shows you that the mobster, murderer, bootlegger is like the best guy in the room.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
And you're like, I can't believe I'm actually rooting for this guy because everyone else sucks.
Yeah. Yep. And I'll say this in defense of this movie versus The Sopranos, we don't see anybody murder anybody, so it's kind of easier to kind of go along with it. But on the other side of it, you have Chaz Palminteri, who is the heavy. He looks intimidating. He's taller than Stallone. He's bigger than Stallone. But who cries the most in this movie?
Chaz Palminteri.
Chaz Palminteri, right? Yeah. So everybody's got this kind of like, they're bad guys with hearts of gold. Like, we're just doing our jobs. You know, you want me to, like, he's, what? I mean, the scene where he just keeps pulling weapons out of his...
It's like disarming Europe.
I know, yeah. It's easier to disarm Germany or something like that, right?
Star.
And his name is Connie in the movie. So he cries the most. He's the biggest guy. His name is Connie.
and he thinks the comics are really funny.
Yes.
And he's so loyal. Like, there's a moment where he tells them there's a lot of switcheroos about a black bag, and I'm going to be totally honest with everybody here. I didn't really keep the black bag straight. Did anybody really ever know which bag was which? I didn't.
I did. Yeah.
I didn't. Well, you've probably seen it a few more times.
I've seen it so many times, but I'm one of those people that like can usually tell what walnut shell the pea's under. Like,
yeah, all right.
I have a little bit of, with the 3-card Monty, like I'm pretty good at spotting it, but I've seen this movie so many times that like...
I just assumed that whatever bag it was the wrong one.
Yeah, that's a good assumption.
So anyway, but my point is with Chaz is that he's such a badass and he's probably like offed a lot of guys for his boss. Hey, boss, thanks, boss. But he tells him to watch the bag, and he literally sits in front of the bag and stares at it. That's kind of funny. Not going to lie. The actors do so much heavy lifting in this movie. They're so good. They're so good, which is going to be a point later, but it's so good. Go ahead.
No, my favorite guy is the guy from Animal House, his other right-hand man.
Yes. The
Aldo.
butler.
Oh,
Aldo, yep.
I think he stole the show a lot in this film. He was great.
I love the hat rack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's always throwing the hats on the hat rack.
He's the master of the hat rack.
But like throws it behind him, doesn't even look. It's there. But like he's just the lines he had, like stuff like when he's everything's the Brooklyn, 30, and then he's like, but then he says a little later, 30, like right halfway through.
Pardon me, 30.
Yeah.
Yes.
He was funny, man.
What I find interesting about this movie, and if you dig in on this movie, what John Landis was trying to do was with the tone of the film, and I'm going to get into filmmaking here a little bit, but in the tone of the film, he was going for the madcap comedies of the 30s with like Clark Gable, with like My Girl Friday, and like these really like zany comedies. And this movie's got like, it's not. First I wanted to say Three Stooges, and then I changed, and I realized it's more the Marx Brothers. Whereas like the language that they're using, like, this guy is some crust of bread, or I don't even know. But the colloquialisms they have are hearkening back to a time, and they're bringing it back to now, and they're forcing these sayings like, he's a tall drink of water, that one. Like, everybody sounds like they're announcing a baseball game from 1932. The son of Swat, the Bambino, going around the second bagger. You know what I mean? So there's so much of that, and it's so interesting to watch and listen to, just as a study of. I know people didn't talk like that, probably like as much as this movie does, but it's certainly fun to watch. But alongside of it, this movie is so crisp. Like everything. Anybody notice that? Except for a couple of times, everything is in focus in this movie.
I don't think I paid attention to that.
Yeah, the people and the backgrounds at all times are always in focus, except one or two shots where it was a close-up, maybe when something was being revealed or the person was in focus, but the background was out of focus. Everything's in focus, which is very jarring to watch. It makes you want to look at what's going on, like a stage play. A stage play can't change focus. Everything's always in focus because you're watching it. And I just thought that was stunning. And I'm sorry if I got film nerdy, but it's absolutely
no, I
the
never
case.
noticed that. But now this is a good excuse for me to go watch the movie again, because now I'm going to pay attention to that.
And then when you notice, I need you to email me or mention it somewhere that guy noticed that. And it's a trick. And you got to remember, it's like with books. When a writer writes something, the words don't get there by accident.
Right.
And when a director makes something, it's not there by accident, or hopefully, if the director's over there. So it's there on purpose, and everything's always in focus.
Yeah, the color saturation, all of those things are there to set a tone of your viewing experience. Yeah, for sure.
And it's setting a tone that while we're talking about murderers, this is a light movie, which is nice. You know you're not going to get shocked by anything.
Right.
You know what I mean? You know you're always going to feel the same, which is really nice.
There's no
experience.
heads in any of those duffel bags.
No, no, not once.
Right.
The only time he pulls a gun, the only time that Provolone pulls a gun, it's a chicken leg. So I mean, right?
And like part of this, the movie is like, he's trying to go straight, so he needs to change his whole life, not just the money part of it. So he has to change how he looks. He has to change how the whole household staff functions. He has to change how he talks. It's like trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Mm-hmm. It's just this constant struggle of trying to get his life to be something that it just doesn't want to be.
Right.
And speaking of how he talks, we got Tim Curry, which we hadn't mentioned yet. He's another big one, especially for back in early 90s.
So Tim Curry plays the My Fair Lady
elocution teacher.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yeah. So Eliza Doolittle is to Provolone as Tim Curry is. I can't remember his name. Anyway, sorry, but yes,
Thornton Poole. Dr. Poole.
No. I'm in My Fair Lady. I can't remember.
The
actor in My Fair Lady. Anyway, so the fact of the matter is yes. Then we get Tim Curry coming in. So I'd like to bring up, and I'd like to see what you guys think about it, is the chaos of the film. Right. It starts off in the morning, and what seems to take, he gets up at 8, and this movie is supposed to end by noon, because that's when the bankers are coming by. So the crux of the movie is that Stallone. Provolone,
snaps.
Stallone, snaps. By the way, my favorite line of the movie is they're talking. Sorry, let me rewind. The whole point of the film is that Provolone is going to invest his money in a real bank, right? So he's not going to launder money anymore. He's actually going to invest in a bank, and these bankers are going to take his money. and start a legitimate
and
enterprise.
And they really want his money because it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. They said, well, why do we want to deal with this crook? And basically, well, I can just envision all the money in our vaults. And he says, I forgot the exact line, and I'm sure, Carrie, you know it. So you please correct me, because I really like the line. I only saw this movie 4 hours ago. He said something along the lines with, "Yes, I would rather not deal with people who have quotations in their names."
Oh yeah, the name in quotes.
Yeah. There, they have their
I'd
name
rather
in
not. I'd rather not do business with someone with his name in quotes or something.
That is genius. And the writing in this movie is so clever, and it's so linked together. Now let's get back to the chaos bit. So obviously, when we talked about noises off, the ball starts rolling at 8 a.m. and it doesn't stop. Right? Mm-hmm. And we would be hard pressed to try to get every little thing that changes in this movie. I think that would be a lesson in futility, to try to get everything that goes wrong. But every moment that goes by, something goes wrong that only Provolone can fix. Like, he's the centerpiece of the entire thing, and the whole world is swirling around him, and every character that gets introduced goes through Provolone. Never other people. It's always through Provolone. So we have this mobster who's trying to be legit and trying to get his life in order that he doesn't really know how to do, and the world
and doesn't want to do either, but has to, because his father made him promise on his deathbed.
Right. And what would he know, by the way? Even if he said, "Yeah, Dad, I will," and doesn't. I mean, unless you believe in the afterlife, fine.
But that's the Italian thing, where it's like,
I know,
it's like a blood oath.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a blood oath. What does it matter? He's not around. But how palpable was the chaos in this movie? What's more enjoyable? The dialogue, or just the introduction of these ridiculous? Because the levels of chaos and craziness in this movie gets more and more ridiculous. The situations get more and more nuts as it goes by, until we get to a point where the double switch daughter, who wasn't the daughter but is a daughter, and lied about being the daughter but actually is the daughter from what the hell is going on?
You sound like Connie right now, trying to Chaz Palminteri's character.
Right.
Your other daughter, what daughter? Like,
right.
And it's important to note that, like, while he's going through his day, trying to get to the meeting with the bankers, the feds are convinced that they are finally going to nab the biggest gangster in Chicago, and the feds have him under surveillance. And today's the day that they're going to bust the mighty Snaps Provolone. They don't have any idea that today's the day Snaps goes straight.
It's true.
So while you've got Sylvester Stallone's character, Provolone, trying so hard, the one day he decides, today's the day I flip the switch, I meet with the bankers, I go legit. The FBI gets the search warrant, they get ready, and today's the day that they're going to investigate him, they're going to arrest him, and they're going to look like heroes on the front page of the paper.
Right.
Wow.
And that
would be enough to fill the movie, never mind the bags, the underwear, the daughters. It's ridiculous.
And let's not forget, this movie is, so we have all of these things, and I got to be honest. So I've never seen it. I just know it's one of the ill-fated Sylvester Stallone comedies. So I'm trying to figure out, okay, this is a noises off movie, and all of these little, like, all of these storylines are going to come together to a point, right? Like, something is going to happen that's going to unravel, either make everything come together at the end or unravel everything, because everything's interconnected somehow, right?
He's the hub. It all connects to him.
Right. And I keep going, why do they keep calling them? Now, Oscar, the movie's called Oscar. We never see Oscar.
No, we don't.
At the end.
At the end.
At the end.
Right.
Yes.
So there's this character, Oscar, who has knocked up Provolone's daughter, who is pregnant and is going to get married to the wrong people. I don't even
She's
remember.
not pregnant.
So, she's not pregnant. Sorry, I'm getting my...
She
anyway.
says she's pregnant because she feels trapped in the house as the mobster's daughter, who's just the spoiled rich girl that just wants to live her life but can't because she snaps Prevalone's daughter, a.k.a. Marissa Tomei.
Right. Well, pardon the hell out of me for not being able to keep this shit straight. So unbelievable I couldn't. But I'm waiting for, like, where is Oscar? And I'm just thinking, like, Oscar is going to be the thing that's going to come up because Oscar is away at World War I. He's skipped town, but he actually enlisted in the army, and he's away. And at the end of the movie, there's, just as you expect, there's a lot of like marriage switching and people finally falling in love and marrying the right person in their lives.
All the lies they told come together, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. Everybody gets caught in their lies at one point or another. And poor Sylvester Stallone is stuck in the middle of it.
That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what I'm waiting for is like Oscar to come in and just blow everything up. And Oscar comes in and is like, hey, he's at a wedding. You know, it's at that classic moment where it says, anyone here wants to object, please speak up now. And goes, I object. And here comes Oscar in World War I, like fatigues and like foxhole gear, you know, with the knickers, the blooming knickers and everything. And it's like, this marriage can't go on because I love her, and then they drag him out of the church on his shoulders.
They basically take him almost like crowd surfing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm like,
just gets taken.
That
Just
to
the way
me,
he did it
as
was
much
awesome.
so as much as you want, like, that's kind of genius, right? It doesn't. The movie is about one character you never see. That to me is clever. The writing, I can't even fathom writing this script or this play. How?
I love the part. I love the little moments in the movie. Everyone has sat in a waiting room with strangers, waiting for an appointment, waiting for a whatever. And the magical moments in this movie are the interactions between the different groups of people waiting for their time with snaps that day.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And they're in the mansion of this famous Chicago gangster. So they just keep putting people in different rooms waiting. And like, I love it when the accountant get stuck with the Finucci's.
Yes.
The piano.
Because the Finucci's, which is Harry Shearer, like no small star power there.
Right.
They're the best suit tailors in all of Chicago, and Snaps needs to redo his suits because he needs to look more like a banker. And so they bring him over. I mean, he brings them over to fit him with a new wardrobe to look like a banker. But these guys are so used to making suits for mobsters, and their resume is the newspaper clippings of all the mob hits, and all the dead guys are wearing their suits.
Right.
It's like the most ridiculous. And so they're like bragging to people about, like, see this my work? And they're showing the suits off, but everyone else thinks that they're hitmen because they're bragging about how good their work is, and they're just showing, well, no, the dead guy's wearing my suit. Like, there's this great moment where they're sitting there with the piano, and they start dancing, and then they realize, and like the guys and then he realizes that he's like playing the piano for these two guys that he thinks are cold-blooded killers. And there's like all like the quotes I say with my sister, like, you want a fast or you want a good? That's a Finucci. I say that literally almost every day. You want a fast or you want a good? And the part where Harry Shearer rattles down all the names, like this big Luigi and this little Luigi, like.
No, that's the other guy. That's the lawyer from Jurassic Park.
Yes.
Does that.
Oh.
Yes.
The other guy does that. And what I thought was really interesting about that, and again, these actors are doing some heavy.
Martin Ferraro.
Yeah. They're doing some heavy lifting. Like all the actors are doing a lot of heavy lifting with what they're doing. And when that guy rattles off those names, it is absolutely emulating the opera at the beginning of the film. Hamada figura, hamada figura, hamada figura, hamada figura. Just rattling him off. And I'm like, how in the hell did he? And how are they doing this with a straight face? I don't get. And how are they even knowing what to say and when?
And you know the quality of an actor like Harry Shearer, like. There's no way that this was all scripted dialogue. I guarantee you they did a straight take off the script, and then they were like, okay, we got the straight take. Now just ad lib and see what comes out.
Right.
Because there's no way in a movie with people like Tim Curry and Harry Shearer that you're not letting these guys loose a little bit to like try. So I'd be very curious to see the actual script versus the dialogue that actually made the movie and how different it is.
And the Tim Curry innuendos that keep coming out, like like you have a dangling participle.
Yep.
Well, he checks himself.
I think it's interesting that the movie, and again we're talking about the acting, is that it's obviously it's just a zany comedy. It's Marx Brothers. I think it's Marx Brothers.
Yeah.
And it has, even though it has moments of emotion, there are really no tender moments. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there are no like heart melting moments anywhere in this film. Not that there aren't nice moments, like between Tim Curry and Marissa Tomei and when whatever, the fake daughter who ended up being the real daughter and the accountant. Jesus Christ, this is how I'm describing the movie. Like when they realize, oh wait, we can't be without each other. It's tender, but well, I mean, it's warm, but it's not like tender. There's no like violin music.
It's not a chick flick. Yeah,
no. Well, I mean, it's just that it doesn't waste its. I don't want to say waste its time, but it wouldn't be appropriate for the film. The film is a zany.
The pacing would be messed
up. The pacing would be all wrong because you have to go from room to room to room to room, problem to problem to problem.
It basically,
when somebody knocks, and I'm sorry, hold on. Cool. When somebody knocks on the door, something bad's going to happen. At some point, when there's a knock on the door, this thing's going to go left fast, and it does, which is interesting to see. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying it follows the pace of the opening number.
Yeah, you're right.
And it sticks with it.
Good observation. Yep.
It just keeps getting faster.
Yeah, it just keeps.
Yep.
And you're like, they got to get this right. Like, and I'm one of those people that when I watch movies like that, I'm like, just turn around and see the person, and then but then it's like, okay, then the movie's 10 minutes.
Right.
Yeah, you're right.
Like this stuff has to play out, but there's a certain amount of like, oh my God, just get the fucking right bag. There's 3 bags. There's a bag of cash, a bag of jewels, and a bag of underwear.
Yeah.
And the right bag is never in the right place at the right time.
Right.
But you, as the audience member, are like, how did you not see that he just took the bed? Turn around, he's taking the wrong bag. Like it's just like that.
Is Chaz, right? Chaz Palmieri, is it?
Yeah, Chaz Palmieri. Yeah.
He grabs, instead of when he looks outside at the nice moment that he's looking at, he didn't pick up the bag. That would have been the only thing he could have done to continue to watch it by holding it.
Literally took his eyes off the bag for 20 seconds. And in those 20 seconds...
It got taken, swapped out.
It got taken.
It's quite literally you had one job.
Yeah.
Right, so
you had one job. Uno jabo. One job. No. What I think is funny, too, about the movie is that, again, it's zany. We don't need a lot of depth of character. We just need to know what the characters basically do in a situation. We don't need to know their history. We just need to know that they're gonna add a new level of confusion to the whole thing that already existed, right? So we know that possibly that Provolone is probably a cold-blooded murderer, or at least involved with cold-blooded murder. Decides he's gonna go clean. The whole movie is based around him gonna be clean. At the end of the film, we realize the bankers are actually some of the worst people in the room. The competing mob family with the informant who has a stutter.
5-spot Charlie.
I know, probably doesn't play out today, but okay.
Roy Wally.
Roy Wally. It was Roy Wally. You're right. They're actually coming to kill people, and they get intercepted by the feds. And the movie ends with he's so solemn about going straight, and he goes, they decide, I'm not going to go into banking because they're bigger crooks than we are. We're going to go back into organized crime. And it's literally a moment of, hooray, back into crime and murder. We're good at that. and you're actually relieved, like, oh, that's a good choice. And the way that Stallone makes good, it goes, sorry, Dad, I tried. Like, he's so worried about it for 4 hours. Like, well, I tried, but I guess I'm a murderer.
Yeah.
I
tried. You saw what happened down here. This wasn't my fault.
Did he really try?
I mean, he kind of
did. Did he really try?
He's like, okay, I'm going to tell everybody that works for me to stop calling me boss.
Yeah.
But they can't.
I know.
Because they call him boss, and that's what they call him. He went to change his wardrobe, and he's got the two Finucci brothers that are going to come over and fit him for suits. And every time they start measuring him, he gets pulled out of the room, and the Finuccis just end up waiting for him all day. Mm-hmm. He tries. I mean, I love that they address the Sylvester Stallone, like, you can't understand what he says. Mm-hmm. Like, every Stallone movie, that's the joke, is that it's like, Adrian, like you can't understand them. And they address that in this movie where they're like, we're going to bring in Dr. Thornton Poole, who's an elocution teacher, and he's going to run him through all these tongue twisters to try and make him be able to speak more clearly and effectively. Mm-hmm. And Dr. Poole is like this stereotype of the nerdy guy that's never been married, that lives with his mother. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's Tim Curry. Like Snaps, I really do feel like he was like, look, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And he tried. I really feel like he tried.
Okay. All right. Because I was going to ask, I was going to ask him, like, how hard was he actually trying?
I mean, look, he had a really shit day.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And after a shit day like that, it's like, do you really want to get up and try again tomorrow?
Right. But Carrie, what's the time span in between his father dying and him deciding to give all his money to the bank?
I don't know.
1 month later.
Is it
at the beginning?
Was it? Oh, it wasn't. You're right. It said it. It said a month. Yeah. All right. But still, that's not enough time to like change your whole life. You know what I mean? Like I think he's just. I think he needed to kind of do maybe baby steps. You know, maybe one thing at a time. But I guess he didn't have a choice because he got thrown at. The attorney comes in. So who's the bad guy in the movie? I think it's the accountant. The
son-in-law.
The son-in-law.
The fake son-in-law.
He starts the ball rolling. He's the reason that everything happened the way it was. So
he's the guy that would have died first, to your point.
Absolutely.
That if Snaps hadn't tried to go straight, like he would have been the guy that legit he would have literally capped him right then in the moment, because
at that moment
he's I love the fact that all the people, it goes back to what I was saying, like it makes you cheer for the bad guys, because the quote unquote good guys, the accountant, the bankers, the people with legit jobs are the worst fucking people in the movie.
Yeah, you're right.
And when your accountant literally looks you in the eyes and says he's been stealing from you the whole time. Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, how many times have you heard that?
Right.
That, it's the accountant steal. I mean, especially in the music business, like how many times have you heard that? That,
sure,
you know, the musician got all their money stolen by their manager or their accountant or whatever. And it's like, it makes you go to the bad guys. Like I loved Chaz Palminteri. I loved Connie. Like, I mean, what the hell is his name? Anthony is it Anthony Rosano? No, that's the accountant.
Yeah.
Aldo. The butler. Yeah. I love Aldo. I love Connie. Like, the guys that are the biggest thugs that you're not supposed to cheer for are the guys I love the most.
Right. And everything would have been fine if the accountant hadn't shown up that day.
If Anthony Rosano hadn't been stealing from him. Yeah.
Right. And he would have made a nice transition to going straight, but he screwed the whole thing up, and he's the beginning. So it's really not as much as we want to say, how much did he try to go straight? Really, none of it was his fault, because he didn't start any of it. He was actually trying. He was trying to go straight, and then just things got in the way that you have to handle the way you're going to handle it. So.
He has a daughter he's given everything to.
Yep.
Who's miserable. That's not his fault. Mm-hmm. He has a wife that is just the high maintenance, rich mob boss wife that's impossible to please.
Right.
He had no idea he's being investigated by the feds. He had no idea that the other rival mafia family was trying to kill him. Mm-hmm. He had no idea that his affair that he had when he was younger spawned a daughter that was going to show up at his door that day.
Right.
Like, none of this stuff was his fault. All he did was control the staff, make the appointment with the bankers, make an appointment to get a new suit, and have an appointment with his linguist to try and work on the fact that he can't speak clearly. That's all he did that day.
Yeah, you're right.
His whole day went to shit, and none of it was his fault.
Right. And there's another knock at the door. And there's another knock at the door.
I like I was saying a second ago, it was Aldo walking into the room with the 2 bottles of champagne.
Yes. Yep.
And what was it?
And it just turns around and walks back out again.
But he's like,
what did he say
we
it
have
was?
This for I forget. He's like, during Prohibition.
Yeah.
I forget what he said. He made some like excuse up.
You could make. Did he say something religious? Because I know in Prohibition you could have liquor for religious reasons, and doctors could prescribe it as medication. Right.
Yeah.
So now suddenly everybody was changing religions and going to their doctor for liquor prescriptions.
Yeah. Which is literally happening right now, which is why it holds up, because people are going to the chiropractor trying not to get the vaccine.
Right.
Which is just as ridiculous.
Yep. Absolutely. Positively.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to address. So we've kind of hit upon a lot of the big things in the story. So I do have to address not whether or not I think it held up, but I do have to address my issue with the movie. So I warned you on this, Carrie.
Yeah.
So it's because I know you love it, and I'm not saying I didn't, because I did like it, and it's genuinely good. However, here's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to throw it out there. Sylvester Stallone has the worst comic timing.
Yes.
Ever.
He's the weakest link in the movie.
That's the problem with the movie.
Yes, 100%.
Because everybody else does all the heavy lifting, and he says every line exactly the same way. His comic timing is terrible.
Yeah.
And there are times when it seems like there's a lot of one-shots in this movie. So it's like one person and then Sylvester, and then one person and then Sylvester. It's a lot of one-shots. And I'm making crap up here, so I almost think like they went to Sylvester and they said, your line is this. And he said the line and said, that's good. And then they shot Marissa Tomei.
It's possible.
You know what I mean? Just totally no conversation. All right, say this.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of one shots where it seems like he's just saying stuff and they say like he's not in character and then action. And then you can see him come into character and quick and say the one line and then he's out of there. Yeah. It's just he has terrible comic timing, which is, I'm glad he only did 2. Again, can he act? Can Sylvester Stallone act? Yes, he can act.
He's a character actor.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from him. He just has terrible comic timing. He doesn't know where the jokes are, how to hit them, and that's my problem. And I had a discussion with my wife earlier, and she said, okay, he has terrible timing. Who could play it? And I don't know.
I have an answer that they tried.
Ooh,
Go ahead.
They tried to get Al Pacino, and
he wouldn't have been good either.
You know what they tried for? What John Landis wanted, okay. And they lured him away to do Dick Tracy. Dick Tracy paid more.
Also not good,
right?
No, all right, well, fine.
But they paid him more, so it was like an extra $1 million or something like that. So
right. So Carrie, are you with me?
I 100% agree with you.
Okay, all right.
And I feel terrible because it's literally Sylvester Stallone's movie, and he's the worst part.
Yeah. Okay.
The movie idea, the script, the actors, the dialogue, there's so much potential in this film.
Yep.
And the weakest link, other than and you addressed this as well.
Yeah.
His wife, who is a real Italian actress.
Yep.
She's, what's her name? Hold on. Ornella Muti?
Yeah, never heard of her.
Never heard of her before. So the wife, you don't have any, when you see Tim Curry or you see Chaz Palminteri, you love them from other things, right? But there's no connection to Snaps's wife because you have no idea who she is. So I wish that someone that I had some kind of connection to had been cast in that role. And then someone with a little bit, whoever would have gotten the Snaps role, if not for Sylvester Stallone, it had to have been someone with that imposing physical stature. Like it had to be someone like John Cena or The Rock, or like someone with an action movie kind of physique, because they needed to be the big, intimidating, scary mobster guy that is in charge of a big family syndicate. Like they have to be an imposing figure that you would believe people would legitimately be afraid of.
The only person I could throw into the ring was a mishmash of an actor who did a mob movie before and then a comedy movie actor after, and that was James Caan. Because he's funny in Elf. And he's terrifying in Godfather, but I don't think he's tall enough.
Well, that's the thing. He's not that imposing physical presence.
I mean. Right. I think he could pull off the timing chops and the intimidating chops, because he's intimidating and funny in Elf. But he's not tall enough, and he doesn't have great hair. Doesn't look Italian enough.
And I think the person needs to have a certain amount of, I think sex appeal is the wrong word, but attractiveness. Because he's got the hot wife and the beautiful daughter. Like this guy is supposed to have the big, beautiful house.
I mean, De Niro always sort of, at least, even he's not like, a giant, but they kind of could always make him very scary. And he's a very good
De Niro
timing actor, because if you saw Analyze This and that, and
Midnight Run.
Yeah. I'm just
Meet the Fockers.
Meet the Fockers.
I'm just throwing stuff out there, but
I just don't know if he look.
I think he might have been too old.
I don't think he'd do Confused that well, because you know what I mean. Like he's not. He doesn't do Confused. No.
Yeah, there is a certain amount of like. There's got to be a naivete in the character too.
Right.
To not be able to figure out which fucking bag. Like
you really are hung up on those bags.
Well,
like,
that's the crux of the whole movie.
I know.
That's the whole movie.
How do you not see the bag?
Yeah, like that's the underwear. Don't open it. It's the underwear.
Honestly, when you pick up a bag full of jewelry and it's not jewelry, you'd know.
You'd know. Yeah, you'd know it was lingerie. There would definitely be a weight difference between a bag full of diamonds and a bag full of panties.
I don't know.
But I don't know.
Big people out there.
But I don't know who would be better cast in it.
Yeah, I don't either.
And the casting for that role is the whole movie.
Right. That's what I'm stuck on. It's almost like you have to do Stallone, but he's just not going to be very. You got to teach him comic chops. Yeah, that's the only thing. That was the only thing, because everybody else. I mean, the Taylors were perfect. Harry Shearer and the other guy. They are timing perfection.
Then you got
to watch Provolone like muscle his way through some lines. It's like
even when they're playing the piano and then. Like they with their other hand, are like dancing around. It's just awesome.
They don't have to say
or playing
anything.
cards with each other.
Yeah. Or when they call them, it's like you tell your two attack dogs to lay off, and they say sit, and then they both sit.
And then they sit. Yeah.
And then they sit exactly at the same time. I mean, it's just they're real good. That's my only thing.
Well, all of the guys, even like Connie. Like Chaz Palminteri is supposed to be the big thug, the dumb guy, and there's his comic timing, even though there's not a lot of dialogue coming from him, but what he does have, he nails at every turn.
Yep.
Don't call me boss. Sorry, boss. Like, it's so fast. And when he finally, he's the guy that is almost the audience, because he's trying to keep it straight for you. And he's like, so your other daughter that's not your daughter that's got the bag, and they're like, yes. And he has this look like, I got it.
Yeah.
And he's like the voice of the audience, that he's the guy. Meanwhile, he's the guy that literally kills everyone on any other day.
Yep.
And today he's trying to keep a bag of underwear straight.
Right. He's got a lead pipe and a vial of poison in his suit.
Yeah.
He hands down has a
lead pipe.
He's got the scariest face. Like possibly out of all the actors that would play mobsters. Like it's just the intimidating face.
I had the most stereotypical day. I went to Strega, which anybody that's ever been to Boston, if you don't know the North End in Boston, it's like the Little Italy of Boston.
Yep.
And Hanover Street is just lined with amazing restaurants that have outdoor cafes and whatever. And Strega is like the Spago. It's like the famous, that's where all the Hollywood celebrities go. And whenever like record reps or whoever would want to come into Boston and like go out to dinner or whatever, they either want to go and have lobster and clam chowder, or especially if they come from the West Coast, people from the West Coast always want to go out for Italian food because there's no good Italian food on the West Coast.
Correct.
And so I was at a record industry dinner one night at Strega that's owned by a guy named Nick Verano, for anybody that, so it's like straight Italian. And we're sitting at Strega eating one night, and I look over, and Chaz Palminteri is sitting at the table next to us. And I was like, oh my God, I wanted all the lines from Oscar are rolling through my head because I'm like, do I become that person that goes up and is like, boss.
Yeah.
Because you know that with all the things Chaz Palminteri's done, nobody ever quotes Oscar to him.
Right. That's why you should have done it.
I know, and I didn't because it was like he was eating and he was in town filming something, and I didn't want to be that person. But I was like, on the other hand, if I go up and quote Oscar, he'll be like, no one has ever quoted that movie to me before.
That's awesome.
Which is why when you guys asked me to pick a movie, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't want to pick something that, like, everyone, like, I hope somebody goes and watches it and goes, all right, look, this movie's not fucking brain surgery, but it's got some really funny lines in it.
Yeah, it does. And it's certainly fun to see all the stuff come together. So, hey,
and I'm a huge Tim Curry fan too. Like, how can you not love, like, Dr. Poole? Like, it's such a ridiculous, over the top portrayal of this incredibly educated bookworm nerd that's like working for the mobster because he's getting paid really well, but he's scared shitless to walk in the house.
Right.
Like,
and Tim Curry, who can basically do anything, has been in some shitty movies, but he's awesome in those shitty movies. Like he's a professional. He could call it in anytime he wants to, and he just doesn't, because he's an actor and he's going to give out the best performance it can, even if he's dealing with a bag of crap. Not calling this movie a bag of crap, but certainly there are others.
And that's one of the lines my sister and I quote all the time, is that, like, my sister will go, Dr. Poole, and I'll go, hello. Like, it's just these stupid little things. And now you guys would get the jokes because you've seen the movie.
It's a connection, man.
But when my sister doesn't knock, right, to come into my house. She just comes in. And she'll walk in, and that's how she announces herself. She'll go, Dr. Poole, and I'll yell from across the house, hello. Stupid. I know it's stupid, but it just is.
It's not stupid. It's all good, man. So I think it's a good time for Final Judgment. I think we've covered a lot of this. So unless there's any other opinions or angles you want to come at, I think we're going to do Final Judgment. Is that okay with you, Carrie?
Well, here, before you judge,
sure.
When you talk about does it hold up?
Yep.
I think the cool thing about this being a period piece, is that because it was made in the 90s, but about the Prohibition era in Chicago, that any movie that's kind of made about a previous time,
sure,
you don't have that uncomfortable decade where it's not old enough. But not new enough. And so you can watch it at any time, and and you're not looking at, like, the model of the cell phone to judge the technology, and like it is far enough back where the period part of it, I think, makes it timeless. That's my pitch before your judgment.
All right. Well, here comes the theme.
Okay.
It's time now for Final Judgment. Are you ready to rubber stamp this bitch? Here's the Final Judgment.
All right, so now it's time for Final Judgment. I guess we have it's a heavy bitch episode. The word bitch has been used twice. No, it's fine.
It follows me everywhere.
No. Steve, all right, so at this point, what we're going to do is
the guy that does our voices, and he sets up an intro every week. Yeah, he got that from her Facebook page, so he didn't call her that.
No, I know.
People have been calling me that for years. Are you kidding me?
No, that's fine. All right, so at this point, so we're going to render whether or not. So the movie came out in '91. It's that was a long time ago, and what we want to do right now is decide whether or not it holds up. There's a lot of reasons that things can hold up. Like Carrie was saying a moment ago, I'm not sure if it's going to be on air, what she just said, but are there anything that sticks out technologically? But also in terms of what is funny then in 1991, as opposed to funny now, or things that are appropriate then, are appropriate now, and it's kind of tough when you have a period piece because everybody's talking in period. So anything that happens are going to be lifestyles from the 30s. So it's tough to have that kind of thing for whether or not it holds up. But I'm going to go first quick because I think mine's going to be quick. I would say upon looking at this movie, except for, again, I'm not Mr. Woke, but I don't think jokes about people with large stutters are going to go. I just think that kind of probably is weaned away these days. And so that's it. That's my only bit. I think it does hold up. And I will say this. I think if you made this movie now, if you made this as a movie now, I think it would just do as well as it did then, which is to say not very. I don't think people are going to rush out to see it. I think it would have a lot more success as a touring play, like with a large budget for stage setups and hire the right actors. I think it would be way more popular as a stage play on Broadway, off Broadway. I think it was if you made it today, it would do just as well. Which again is to say, it did not do very well in the theater, which is sad because there were a lot of crappier movies that did better than this movie, which is unfortunate. But that's my take. So yes, it does, kinda. So, who's next?
I'll go.
Go ahead, Jay.
Jay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, the period piece is hard to ignore. When I've brought this up many times, so I do like that. It's easier to say that something does hold up because we're not laughing at it. Look at that weird car or like cell phone made in the 90s, or whatever, not cell phones, but you know what I'm saying, like payphones. Like we're not laughing at tech from the 90s. So yeah, that's an easier way. But I got to say, crystal clear hold up. Like, I mean, I'm talking about the film. Like, it was shot so well. It looks like it could have came out yesterday. How well this has been preserved. Like there are some movies in the early 90s or late 80s where you're like, wow, that's blurry and fuzzy. And, this was...
looks like it got shot through a dirty bar glass.
And I mean, it's
crystal clear, yeah.
Very well. It's just like all the shots are just perfect. I don't know. I think the comedy is it is like an older type of comedy, but boy, I like that it's so clean. You know what I mean? Like we talked about, it's PG. Like that's pretty rare today, this day and age. What movie's PG? Ever? Like, you know what I mean? So like that's kind of a refreshing thing. You see that, and it's like I was going to show my daughter and my wife. I ended up having to watch it alone, but like I can see them having a blast. So like I can absolutely see people today, if they sat down to check this out, I think they would have a blast with it because it's a lot of fun. So I'm going to say absolutely holds up.
Cool.
I think it holds up too. I think, like, I watch a lot of TikTok videos just because I just watch a lot of TikTok videos. And your criticism about the stuttering informant, like, all I can think about are the people I see on TikTok that have Tourette's
Yep.
that are like taking control of their own Tourette's by making their own Tourette's videos and stuff.
Sure. Okay. Yeah.
And I think that the fact that the informant, who's the person that the authorities in the movie, the feds, and the rival family literally have to hang on every word this guy says because they're paying him for inside information.
Yeah.
And he's the guy with the stutter.
All right. Fair enough. All right. Yep.
Like, I think that that's actually, and I'm not trying to make fun of people with a stutter, but I think that part of it is that they have to sit there and like the attorney in My Cousin Vinny.
Yep.
The public defender in My Cousin Vinny, where you're like, oh my God, just get it out, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Like, get it out.
Right.
That I think that's part of it. And I think, I mean, look, there's an argument to be made that it stereotypes Italians.
Sure. Oh, absolutely.
And
yeah,
there was
right.
a lot of criticism when The Sopranos came out from the Italian American community that were like, can we be something other than the mafia in Hollywood?
Right.
And so, like, in that part of it, too, I think there's going to be a certain amount of wokeness where it's like, really, does the guy's name have to be Snaps Prevolone? Like, does it have to? But I think if you can take this movie for what it is, that it's not, if you're willing to suspend your disbelief and you're willing to accept that it's just trying to make you laugh, and that I don't think I think intent is a lot when it comes to whether something holds up culturally.
Sure.
Is whether they're purposefully trying to belittle a person or group of people. I don't believe that they're trying to belittle Italians, and I don't believe that they're trying to belittle people with a stutter. So I feel like it's more of a pure intention where it just is kind of there because that was kind of what made the joke funnier.
Sure.
But I don't feel like there was ill will towards anyone specifically, which again, to your point, is rare in this day and age, that like they weren't looking to purposefully punch down.
Sure. Oh yeah, I fully admit that it's not like that bothered me. I just thought of something that maybe somebody would get hung up on.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. Like, but I think in the grand scheme of things in the world, I think someone's intent says a lot about whether or not you deserve to be mad at them for what they said. And I think especially like a lot of stand-up comedians even now are talking about like, look, I'm just trying to be funny.
Right.
I'm not trying to punch down at people and pick on people or whatever. And it's like, I think sometimes people get so worked up trying to find something to be offended by that it's like, just let it be funny.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm with you.
like, how else do you make the informant funny? Except you've got a room full of people literally focused on his every word. So, of course, he's got to have a stutter.
Yeah.
We got to wait.
Please.
We have to wait for this information.
Just get it out.
Yeah.
You know?
That's cool.
So I think it holds up, but like I said, you guys humored me by letting me pick the movie. This is an absolute guilty pleasure for me, so I'm 100% in on it. I even the bad comedic timing by the star.
You know, we were debating who could it be, and you just brought up My Cousin Vinny. How the hell did
Joe
we not
Pesci?
think of him? Because you know what? Maybe in size he's not, but he scares the shit out of people every time he plays a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He can do funny and he can do terrifying.
Casino,
Yes.
Scared to death, man. Like I don't want to be. I don't want to be friends with him.
Yeah.
I don't want to be near him. He's in the same city. I'm out.
But
right.
My Cousin Vinny with Marissa Tomei too.
Timing.
Like
that guy has got some time.
yeah, he you know what? Other than like the physical prowess of a Stallone, the action figure build,
Pesci could
like,
scare the shit out of everybody.
and would have been really funny.
It might have
Very
been.
funny.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna have to pitch that. Let's do a work up on a script. Let's all work on it together. We'll send it
Can
off.
somebody just work on this stage play and put it back on Broadway, please?
I know, right? So, all right. Well, I think we have picked apart our. I almost said Arthur. Oh, okay, no. That's a totally different movie. I think we have investigated Oscar enough. I do want to thank our guest, Mistress Carrie. Again, round of applause all around.
Thank you, guys.
Just for bringing this up to us, this basically forgotten movie for me, and hopefully people can listen to our suggestions, and mostly Carrie's suggestions, that pick this one out of the dust, man. It's not, like I said, it's not perfect, but I don't know. I didn't feel like I wasted $4. You know what I mean?
It's not rocket surgery, as they say.
It's not rocket surgery. So I want to thank you again. Before we go, Carrie, please tell us where we can find you on social media, what podcasts you're on, and so this is your. Let us know what you're doing.
Well, everything is at mistresscarrie.com. That's the easiest thing. You can search for the Mistress Carrie podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. It's a rock lifestyle podcast, so there's a lot of rock stars on there, a lot of legendary, iconic rock bands, and then a lot of newer artists that I'm trying to introduce you to that I think you might like if you like rock music. But the music is the thread of the podcast. So if you enjoy rock music, you're going to go through these episodes and you're going to find either people you find interesting or bands that you love. And if you subscribe to the podcast, you also get what I call the situation report. So every weekday you get the sit rep, which is like all your rock news, music headlines, entertainment, but it's only 5 minutes long. So if you don't have all the time in the world, but you still love rock music and kind of want to know what's going on, you can literally listen to this while you're brushing your teeth in the morning. So just subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast. And then I'm on 100 FM The Pike in Worcester and a bunch of other radio stations around the country through Westwood One. And I host a video streaming show on my Facebook page every Tuesday night at 8:30 called Cocktails in the War Room, where we talk about music and current events. And I'm at like 150 episodes already, which is like insane. It started during the pandemic, and I did it nightly for 80 nights in a row.
Whoa,
and my God. I know. I did 80 nights in a row through the height of the lockdown. And then we turned the show into a weekly show. So I'm pretty busy, but everything is, even my online store, everything is at mistresscarrie.com. So.
All right. Excellent. Mistresscarrie.com.
Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you opening up your show to me and allowing me to make a ridiculous movie suggestion. And I'm glad that it did exactly what I had intended, because you guys are such big movie guys that there was a lot of pressure on me to like bring something to the table. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want it to be something that you guys had seen a bunch and already kind of had opinions about. Like, I'm glad that I was able to like find a little nugget of something that made your life a little bit different for the day. So that makes me happy.
Definitely that's true, but I will say that you made us an offer that we couldn't refuse. Anyway, so everybody, if you want to email us, you can email us at filmcrickets8099 at gmail.com. Again, follow Instagram, right, Jay? Instagram, our YouTube channel, if you want to see our lovely faces in our various man caves and other people's studios. See where do they live? What do they have back there? That's always fun, intruding but fun. And please recommend us all your friends. If you're listening to Apple Podcasts, please rate and review. And one other thing, thanks again to Steve Lavoie for doing the voices in the middle, and to Draco and the Malfoys for making our theme song. And I got to say one thing. I was in my liquor store in Brooklyn, Connecticut on Friday, and the person behind the counter had a weird Harry Potter shirt on. And it was, I commented on it, and she said, "Oh no, it's a band. It's Tonks and the Aurors." And I said, "Oh, that's funny because this band that I opened that made our theme song is Draco and the Malfoys." And she says, "I know who they are. I've been to their house." I never would have guessed. So I guess Draco and the Malfoys has a following between Harry Potter rock and roll nerds. And liquor stores. So yeehaw, Fireball and Draco and the Malfoy. So anyway, Jason, what we got coming up? Do we know what's happening next time?
Yeah, I believe next week we're doing the first of our 2 Friday the 13th that we're trying to time for October. So I'm not sure. We're the goal is to do a month of horror for October, but.
It's the best time of the year.
I concur. So
my favorite.
All right, excellent. So it's going to be a Friday the 13th.
Ray
I think it's
Osher,
5 or 6, one of those two.
Rejoining, yeah.
No, with Ray. Yes. All right, cool. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you very much. And tune in, let everybody know, and have a wonderful week.
Chirp about